Rama Rama Hare Hare.
Sorry. Namo Vishnupadaya Krishna Prastaya Bhutale Srimati Bhaktivedanta Swamini Tanamani. Namaste Saraswati Devi Gaudavani Pacharane Navase Sunyavadi Pachatyade Satarane Om Aginatamindasya Jana Jana Salakaya Chaksu Samilatan Zaina Tasmai Sri Gurave Namah Sri Chaitanya Manovistam Stapitam Hina Bhutale Sayam Rupa Kadamayam Dadati Sa Padantikam Vansakalpa Truyascha Kripa Sindhu Vayevacha Patitanam Papanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namah. Hare Krishna. Tamara, could you play along with this? Yesterday, I was unable to read how the Vrijbasis came to Kurukshetra from Gopal Champu. And because someone even asked me yesterday if Sri Radha came to Kurukshetra, and the answer is, of course, yes. How could she not? But there's some story behind everything. There's always reasons and narrations and causes and effects. So I would like to read how Srimati Radharani and all the Vrijbasis, Yashoda Maya, Nanda Maharaj, how they came to Kurukshetra, and especially important because we just heard how, especially Yashoda Maya, Yashoda, Mother Yashoda, how her initial reaction to being with Krishna. What do you remember from that? What sticks in your mind? Please raise your hand. From that, yes, you raised your hand so quickly. Yes. A little bit louder. When Devaki Mata glorifies Yashoda for taking care of Krishna, she didn't even hear anything. That's what. And it's also important to remember that the reaction of Devaki with its sarcasm and secret messages, there's no true envy in the spiritual world in these interactions. It's all based on prema, or love for Krishna. Hare Krishna. Could you bring, oh, never mind, an anti-fly mantra? So this reading from Gopal Champu is going to lead right into the specific topic that we will speak about today, which means the specific meeting between Krishna and the gopis. And it demonstrates the highest levels of love, so much so that Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, as revealed by Rupa Goswami, Srila Rupa Goswami, when he saw Lord Jagannath in the Rath Yatra, he was in the exact mood that's demonstrated here. And we shall talk about that on another day. But okay, ready? While residing in Dwarka, Krishna made arrangements to make the residents of the three worlds happy. But then, after some time, Krishna heard from astrologers that a solar eclipse would occur. And therefore he made an announcement which produced joy in all directions. He said, "We will go to Kurukshetra along with all our family members." And when the residents of Vrindavan heard about this, after first consulting with Yashoda Maya, Nanda then consulted everyone who had gathered in his assembly. He said, "Though we have had a great desire to go to Krishna, our misfortune has prevented us from doing so. You have all concluded, therefore, we have all concluded that it is very unlikely that Krishna will come here and see us in Braj. But we now have heard that Krishna is very eager to go to Kurukshetra. He wants to see the solar eclipse. And we have also heard that he is full of affection for you all. And since everyone, practically speaking, everyone in the world will come there to Kurukshetra, our going will not be surprising. It won't even be noticed. It will just be another group of people who have come to observe the solar eclipse. And therefore, this will not give the enemies of Krishna an opportunity to see us as his friends. That will be painful to Krishna, and it will cause us problems because of our deep, deep relationship with him." The reasoning was because these demons had enmity with Krishna. If they saw the Brajbasis and Krishna interacting, they would immediately understand Krishna's great love for them and their love for him. And therefore, to give Krishna pain, they will give us pain. This is the nature of an asura. So Nanda Maharaj spoke, and with a shower of tears, all the Brajbasis joyfully replied. They said, "Oh Nanda, you have spoken well, but there's a problem. If everyone here in Braj, everyone who desires to see Krishna will go to Kurukshetra, who will stay behind to protect Braja? Someone must be appointed to protect Braja and stay behind. All of us keep our wealth, homes, and children just for Krishna. And after such a long separation, none of us have had the opportunity to meet him. How can we prevent any of our cowherds to meet Krishna? How can we stop them? And all our wealth, all our possessions are simply meant for his pleasure. Who will stay behind? Who will stay behind? How can we prevent any of the cowherds from meeting Krishna, which we will all do using the excuse, simply an excuse of going to Kurukshetra? As this idea was being considered, this issue, this challenge, because we don't say anymore it's a problem, we say it's a challenge. Just as they were speaking like this, a letter from Krishna in Dwarka arrived, and it was placed in the hand of Nanda Maharaj. The letter said, "O Father, as long as I have not destroyed my enemies, I have desired so strongly but not found a practical way by which we can meet. Thus I have suffered because I have not until this time found that means to meet. For if I feared that if I displayed any special love for you, my enemies would attack Braja just to cause me pain. But now, after a long time, I have found a solution. Kurukshetra will be filled with people on the occasion of the eclipse. I can easily meet you by this arrangement. And later, I will come to Braja and directly meet everyone. However, those who are not satisfied with my promise to soon come to Braja should come and meet me in Kurukshetra, and all others should stay in Braj. But although the cows are my heart and my friends are my life, my Gopa friends should stay firmly in Braja along with the cows." Hearing Krishna's words, everyone spoke their approval, but one may ask, did the cows we know didn't speak their approval, but the boys, Krishna's friends, could they approve? Even Krishna's friends, Srila Jiva Goswami writes in the Gopal Champu, praised the proposal because they always were experiencing Krishna's presence on the uppercut level. They too spoke to show their acceptance, and they said, since we serve him with millions of our life heirs, if he gives even a small order that will please him, we will accept it. But not only did Krishna send a letter to his father, he also sent one composed of secret words to the gopis. These are the words that Krishna wrote to them. Though I am in great delight to meet with you in secret, you are not aware of this meeting because you are thinking it is only my spurti, it is not me, it's just a manifestation, a mental manifestation in your minds. But now it is possible for us to meet together in a situation in which no one else will be present who would oppose our meeting. O beloved gopis, at Kurukshetra, let us again meet together, and in this way we all will maintain our lives. Thus, when Yashoda Maya became eager to travel to Kurukshetra, Sri Radha and others also became eager. The apparent, not actual husbands, but the apparent husbands of the gopis who had previously prevented them from meeting their apparent wives from meeting Krishna, those husbands, apparent husbands, were also eager to go to Kurukshetra. But now, since they saw the possibilities of the gopis dying because of longing to see Krishna, they, seeing that everyone was completely dedicated to Krishna, They realized the impossibility of preventing the gopis from seeing him, and therefore they gave up their interest in stopping the gopis from going. Yet they also wanted to separately go to Kurukshetra, but because of the secret message Krishna sent to Nanda Maharaj, Krishna's close friends, taking the permission of Nanda, using the excuse of danger of leaving Braja unprotected, they engaged the apparent husbands and others in guarding Braja. Thus, they showed these apparent husbands great friendship when they met them, and they engaged them also in staying behind. Yashoda, who had a secret but very strong affection for the gopis, and who suspected their great pain due to their separation from Krishna, due to their pure love for her son, she made Radha and others go along with her. Thus, consider their eagerness. The very next morning after this meeting, and having received the message from Krishna, the very next morning, the Brajbasis began their journey to Kurukshetra. In the hopes of one day again meeting Krishna, Sri Radha's body and her senses had all dried up, and thus she and the other gopis, with very thin bodies, all went to Kurukshetra. During their journey, the chests of the other Brajbasis quivered in the ecstatic anticipation of meeting Krishna. They gave bliss to all eyes because their hair stood on end and they were drenched continuously with their tears. Their teeth were chattering from their trembling. These are all symptoms of ecstatic love for Krishna. They were on such a plane, such a platform of love for Krishna that it is impossible for us to even imagine this, at least for me. Their words became unintelligible. They would speak, but their words didn't make any sense because of their ecstasy. And because their many thoughts appeared and disappeared, they were constantly in confusion. Their minds weren't working properly. Their bodies weren't working properly. But their love for Krishna was working fully properly and exploding continuously. They acted outside as if they were calm, just like realized souls, but internally they were considering everything other than seeing Krishna as just an illusion. And because of the bliss of constantly being touched with Krishna through thinking of him with great love, they were experiencing life in this way. They were experiencing love for Krishna through thinking about him. Not like Kamsa though, but thinking about him with great love. Their bodies, cowherd men, also had become thin because of forgetting to eat or sleep. But inside, internally, they were always serving Krishna. Even those who did not know Krishna, and even those who disrespected him, went along on the great journey to Kurukshetra. Here, next, Jiva Goswami, in his Gopal Champu, describes, on hearing, then the Brajbasis, after days, arrived in Kurukshetra. They were traveling in their bullock carts. Now, the description that Srila Jiva Goswami gives is just slightly different from the one that we read yesterday from the Bhagavatam and from the Acharyas. And we were quoting Srila Jiva Goswami, his thoughts, deep revealed thoughts on the experience of what happened when they arrived. But here he will describe it slightly differently. The Brajbasis arrive in Kurukshetra. And on hearing that the Brajbasis were nearby, hundreds of types of happiness completely flooded Krishna's body. He thus could not get to see them very quickly. As they neared Kurukshetra, Nanda and the others first smelled Krishna's presence, and they knew he was nearby. And when they came closer to the camp at Kurukshetra, however, Krishna was there. They saw him with in his royal dress, surrounded by other members of royalty. As soon as Krishna and Balaram, as they heard that the people of Braja had arrived, they immediately fell into the ocean of the mood of cowherd boys, and their minds melted. They immediately went to meet them, but because of their ecstasy, they could not move quickly. Using an excuse, they sent the assembled kings who were surrounding them into a far place, into their separate camps. And Krishna was thinking as follows: my enemies do not know that I am close friends with the people of Braja. And for this reason, although through Uddhav, Krishna settled Nanda and the others in an isolated place where he could be with them and console them in private. Then, having left aside those who were not his immediate relatives, Krishna and Balaram, along with those relatives, went to meet the people of Braja. And when they saw Nanda, especially Nanda with the other cowherd men from far off, Krishna and Balaram immediately offered their respects. They fell to the ground with reverence. Nanda's body, upon seeing him, Krishna and Balaram, his body began to shake, and his eyes filled with tears. His hairs stood on end. Nanda embraced them both at once and cried with a choked voice and an unsteady mind. Though Krishna and Balaram wanted to embrace him, they did not because of their relatives who were present nearby. Instead, they fell directly at Nanda's feet on the ground. And though Nanda Maharaj desired to relieve them of offering respects, because of his inability to control his emotions, his hands did not move properly. He just looked here and there. Then Nanda saw Vasudeva and others who were speaking blessings as their greeting, saying to Nanda, "May you live long." However, Nanda and the group of Vrindavasis, their mood being so different from the mood of the Dwarkavasis and the other kings who were present, they remained silent, practically, very reserved and shy. But then, recovering himself, Nanda made Krishna and Balaram comfortable and asked them how they were. Krishna and Balaram stood before Nanda with folded hands because of all the Dwarkavasis present. And after Vasudeva embraced Nanda, all the cowherd men then met the best of sages and others such as Pradyumna who wanted to meet them. Vasudeva then brought Nanda to his residence as if he was a deva, as if he was a demigod. He showed him so much respect, while Krishna and Balaram followed behind. There, in Vasudeva's own quarters, everyone worshipped Nanda Maharaj. But then They heard that Yashoda Maya was inside a cloth-covered cart surrounded by many women. Immediately, Vasudeva, along with intimate associates, went there, and they took her and Nandamaraj inside again. There, Krishna and Balaram saw Yashoda, and she saw them. Yashoda Maya looked like a creeper, a lata, whose leaves had withered in the intense sun of separation from Krishna. And she, on seeing Krishna, was thrown by the swift wind of seeing him. And having attained the monsoon season in the form of her son, she became liquid. She melted. She became liquid in greed, which spread from the root of her affection. And seeing Yashoda's dried up body, Devaki became busy trying to satisfy her. But Yashoda immediately became healthy upon seeing Krishna, and that help became unnecessary. Yashoda stood up, though still affected by separation. At that instant, Krishna, along with Balaram, ran to her and fell at her feet, and she immediately raised them up, for their knees were on the ground. She embraced their two heads to her chest as she shed tears. Devaki and others wondered, how can Yashoda, whose body is so thin, produce this river which seems to continually be increasing, looking like it will spread and cover the universe? Krishna Balaram fell at her feet and cried, as if covering themselves in an ocean of tears. When this happened, Yashoda became worried, and she stopped her own tears. She wondered if the hearts of the two boys were also breaking in the pain of their separation. And seeing her face had dried, the two brothers looked around and had their mother meet the other women, and this made her melt with affection. Amongst the women with sons, Rohini and others gradually controlled themselves and had Yashoda immediately sit on a shining white deerskin seat. And then they also sat down. They thought of themselves as Krishna's mother. Devaki and others dealt with Yashoda quite neutrally. But the affection of Devaki and those with her was nothing in front of Yashoda's motherly affection. If a monsoon cloud lingers in the sky, what is the need for the farmer to water his crops in his field? Yashoda, holding them close, smelled their fragrant heads and moistened them with her tears. Yashoda then saw that their faces, Krishna and Balaram's faces, were also filled with tears, and thus, with her hand, she wiped them away. For Yashoda, one kalpa, millions of years, appeared like a few moments. And seeing this, Rohini and Devaki desired to respect her with great reverence. When Rohini and other queens like Rukmini began worshipping Yashoda, Krishna and Balaram went outside. They moved here and there, and then they busily worshipped all the cowherd men as guests. There was none amongst the cowherd men who was not received as a guest, for there was no one from Braja whom Krishna did not approach and worship. What to speak of associating with the gentlemen of Braja? How can one describe Krishna's association with the old bulls of Braja who had come to Kurukshetra pulling the carts? Again and again, Krishna came to the bulls and embraced their necks and sprinkled their bodies with his tears. Or chant, rather, in your mind. If you're going to sleep in front of me, you should go and take some rest and come back. Now, okay, you can open your eyes and your ears and listen again. Now, yesterday, we heard even a more extreme account from the Acharyas of Krishna and Yashoda's dealing, so much so that Yashoda was oblivious of the words spoken by both Rohini and Devaki. And Jiva Goswami comments on that. Yashoda did not, because they're all together in a room, Yashoda did not answer Devaki's statements. Rather, because she was absorbed, maybe you can play also, because she was absorbed in seeing her son after so long, she neither heard or saw nor spoke anything at all. Now, Sukadev will describe the arrival of the gopis. For Uddhava had brought them somewhat near Krishna's private quarters. Uddhava had been to Braja, and he knew of the relationship. Krishna had sent Uddhava to Braj. So he would have someone who understood his mood of separation from the gopis, and he could thus talk to them, talk to that person who was Uddhava, his dearmost friend. And also, since Uddhava was named by Krishna as the best of all the Yadus, with the most intimate relationship with him, he wanted Uddhava to become humbled by seeing the love of the Brijbasis, especially the Braja Gopikas, for him. And therefore, he sent them, he sent Uddhava to Braj and sent with him, so many messages. And interestingly enough, when Uddhava returned, as Srila Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur explains, when Uddhava returned to Braja, he immediately, to Dwarka, he immediately went to see Krishna, and he exchanged words on exactly what had happened and how the residents of Vrindavan were doing, and especially how the Braja Gopikas were doing in his absence. And Srila Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur, in his commentary on that verse, or those verses of Uddhava meeting Krishna and explaining to him everything, at that time, especially hearing of the mood, the loving mood, and the loving ecstatic mood of Srimati Radharani, hearing of the dealings between Uddhava and Srimati Radharani's mood of all the different mad speakings and speaking to the bumblebee as if it was Krishna in the Brahma Gita. When Krishna heard that, Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur explains, at that time, he wanted to experience her ecstasy of love. And he decided at that time to advent himself as Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. After Yashoda did not speak, Sukadev, the sage endowed with all knowledge, spoke the following words, for he knew the mood of both the gopis and Krishna. But before we hear directly, we'll watch a video, an AI-generated video of the incidents of Krishna meeting with the gopis in secret. Now, this video is wonderful in one sense, but it's a little bit sad in another sense. In the sense it's sad is that the gopis don't look like the Braja Gopikas. As how could they? How could artificial intelligence generate their forms and the mood of their words? Well, only the deepest prema bhakti forms them in every way. But yet, to give us some shadow of experience, perhaps this will help. May Krishna give you eyes of prema so you see it all properly. Please.
From the very beginning of their lives, the gopis of Vrindavana knew nothing beyond Krishna. He was their very life and soul. So deep was their love that they could not bear even the blink of an eye when their vision of him was lost for a moment. They condemned Brahma, the creator, for making eyelids at all, for foolishly interrupting their sight of Krishna. After long years apart, they now drank him in with their eyes, holding him within their hearts in boundless ecstasy. The Supreme Lord approached the gopis in a secluded place as they stood in their ecstatic trance. After embracing each of them and inquiring about their well-being, he laughed and spoke to them.
My dear friends, you know that Lord Balarama and I left Vrindavana just to please our relatives and family members. Thus we were long engaged in fighting with our enemies and were obliged to forget you, who were so much attached to me in love and affection. I can understand that I have been ungrateful to you, but still I know that you are faithful to me. May I inquire if you have been thinking of us, although we had to leave you behind? My dear gopis, do you now dislike remembering me, considering me to have been ungrateful to you? Do you take my misbehavior with you very seriously? After all, it is the Supreme Lord who brings living beings together and then separates them, just as the wind brings together masses of clouds, blades of grass, wisps of cotton and particles of dust, only to scatter them all again, so the Creator deals with his created beings in the same way. Rendering devotional service to me qualifies any living being for eternal life. But by your good fortune, you have developed a special loving attitude toward me, by which you have obtained me. Dear ladies, I am the beginning and end of all created beings and exist both within and without them, just as the elements ether, water, earth, air and fire are the beginning and end of all material objects and exist both within and without them. In this way, all created things reside within the basic elements of creation, while the spirit souls pervade the creation, remaining in their own true identity. You should see both of these, the material creation and the self, as manifest within me, the imperishable supreme truth.
Dear Krishna, from your navel emanated the original lotus flower, which is the birth site of Brahma, the creator. No one can estimate your glories or your opulence, which therefore remain always a mystery even to the highest thoughtful men, the masters of all yogic power.
Dear Krishna, we are always busy in our family affairs. We therefore request that you remain within our hearts as the rising sun. That will be your greatest benediction.
Now, these words of Krishna and the reply of the Braja Gopis are so deep. I would like to, there's 6 verses that Krishna speaks to the gopis. I'm going to read those quickly, and then we'll talk about their reply, and then we'll go back and hear them and look into the comments of our acharyas who expand the meaning of them in such a wonderful way. But first, let's see what Krishna said. first, the 6 verses. Which is 40, yeah. He says, "My dear girlfriends, O Sakis, do you still remember me? It was for my relative's sake that I stayed away for so long, intent on destroying my enemies. Do you perhaps think I'm ungrateful?" Akrita uses that word. "And thus you hold me in contempt? Are you angry at me? But after all, it is the Supreme Lord, Bhagavan, who brings together living entities, brings living beings together and then separates them. Just as the wind brings together masses of clouds, blades of grass, wisps of cotton, and particles of dust, and then only to scatter them. He brings them together only to scatter them all, as the Creator deals with his created beings in the same way. Rendering devotional service to me, Mai Bhakti, qualifies any living being, Hibhutanam, for eternal life, Amritasvaya Kalpate. But by your good fortune, you have developed a special loving attitude towards me, Dischaya Nasinmatsneo, by which, this attitude, by this with which you have attained me, Madapana. Dear ladies, I am the beginning and end of all created beings and exist both within and without them, just as the elements of ether, water, earth, air, and fire are the beginning and end of all material objects and exist both within and without them. In this way, all created beings reside within the basic elements of creation. All the objects reside in the basic elements of creation, while the spirit souls pervade the creation. So there's the elements that material things are composed of, and then the spirit souls, which are the living entities, and they remain in their own true identity. You should see both of these, the objects of the material world, every object as within me, and the souls too, as in me. The material creation and the self, they're all manifest within me, who am the imperishable, supreme truth, the super soul. Okay. And it's so interesting, and we hear how interesting these words are and how the Acharyas illuminate them. And Sukadeva Goswami said, having been instructed by Krishna in spiritual matters, the gopis were freed from all tinges of false ego because of their incessant, non-stopping meditation upon him. Okay. So, when the gopis heard this, on one level, they were very angry. And they were so angry they couldn't speak. But some of them were so angry they did speak. And that they said, what they said was, what you said just now makes no sense. First, you say, do you still remember me? Do you know who we are? Do you remember us? And then you say, and you saw that. Then after saying, do you remember me? Then you said, do you think me ungrateful? But don't think me ungrateful, because after all, things just move and were brought together by our own, not by our will, but by chance, and brought together with no reason and thrown apart. So first, do you remember me? Then, do you think me ungrateful, apologetically? And then, don't blame me for being away. It's after all, it's the super soul who's done everything. And then you say, after that if you love me, we'll always be together, and you love me, we'll always be together. And then you say that I'm the Supreme Lord. First you say, you think I'm ungrateful, then you say I'm the Supreme Lord. Nothing makes any sense. You're all these different things at once, and you're blaming the Supreme Lord, and then you say you are the Supreme Lord. So some gopis were like that. And then Krishna, in reply, our acharyas will explain, no, you've misunderstood. And then he explains, and everything is included in his explanations. So first we'll go to the, when Krishna first saw them, Balaram first saw them waiting outside the door while he was interacting with Mother Yashoda. And then Balaram, seeing them there, he himself, being very clever, left. Uddhava had brought them close so that they could see Krishna. And Sukadeva Goswami, he says, this is the first verse, which is something like introductory. While gazing at their beloved Krishna, the young gopis, they used to condemn the creator of their eyelids just for momentarily, for a moment, blocking their vision of Krishna. And now, from a distance, not a far distance, but a close distance, they were seeing Krishna again after a long time of separation. And with their eyes, they took him into their hearts. He couldn't resist their loving glances. And there in his heart, they embraced him to their full satisfaction. This is Srila Sukadeva Goswami speaking. In this way, they became totally absorbed in ecstatic meditation on him. They were still outside, but they were pulling him inside their hearts and embracing him, absorbed fully in meditating on him. And they attained a state that although those who constantly practice mystic yoga, they cannot find such absorption. They find it very difficult to achieve, to attain. Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur explains that Baladev, who is the crest jewel of all cleverness, he saw the gopis in a somewhat distant place, and their hearts, he noticed their hearts were longing, filled with longing, and they were ready to give up their lives. He was so close. After missing him for so long, he was so close, and they were seeing him. And if they couldn't see him now, if they couldn't be with him now, and they were thinking maybe we're unable to meet him. And to help the situation, Baladev stood up and left. Srila Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur continues, explaining that the gopis had considered, even though they were so respectful of the devotees, the demigods, but they considered Brahma a mere creator of eyelids, which would get in the way of their seeing Krishna, and thus they cursed him. They were so upset with him. Vishwanath continues, please listen carefully. They continued to stare at Krishna. They were pulling him with their glances. The eyes of the gopis were like doorways, and through those doorways, they made Krishna enter their hearts. There, they embraced him and attained the stage of prema known as Mahabhava, a state rare even for the best of all Atmarama-satisfied souls, as well as rare for the great masters of yoga, such as even Lord Shiva. Their state of Mahabhava was rare even to his eternal queens, his wives, such as Rukmini. Despite their pride, the queen's pride that the Lord's principal queens used to have because of their constant association with Krishna, their position so near, but not with him, had brought them in the mood of separation to such an ecstasy that no one could attain. Srila Jiva Goswami says, the gopis now attained Krishna intimately. For more than others, They held him dearer than thousands of their lives. They were prepared to give up their lives thousands and thousands and thousands of times just to serve Krishna, just to be with Krishna so that they could serve him in the way that only they could serve him. And thus, they could do this because their prema, Srila Jiva Goswami says, is the highest of all. They stared at him from that short distance for a long time, and then they fainted in bliss. Then, now this is important to note, text 40. This is just before Krishna's 6 verses of explanation. Because he felt so terrible, even though he had his duties to perform, but he was in Mathura and Dwarka, and the gopis were in Braj, and after the intimacy of their relationship, he hadn't come to see them, even though so many reasons were there. But yet, all those reasons amounted to zero because their love for him was so strong. So then the Supreme Lord, now it's important to notice that he's named in the Sanskrit verses Bhagawan. He approached the gopis in a secluded place. So he left Mother Yashoda. After some time, they brought Mother Yashoda to meet the other Yadus. So Krishna he approached the gopis in a secluded place as they stood in their ecstatic trance. After embracing each of them and inquiring about their welfare, about their well-being, he laughed. They're in the ecstasy of separation, and Krishna is feeling guilty that despite his reasons, and that he was confronted with their soul, their focus, love for only him, ready to die 1,000 lives to satisfy him. He was feeling guilty, and therefore he laughed and spoke as follows: Prahasanam idam abravit. He smiled and laughed, and then he spoke these 6 verses. But first we'll read Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur's comment and then Srila Jiva Goswami's comment. Krishna went to a more private place, and he talked and mingled freely with the gopis who were in a state of bliss. He embraced all of them tightly, so tightly that they awoken from their ecstatic trance. He asked them about their welfare. He said, "Is your great sickness and pain due to separation from me now gone?" They didn't like his mood. He laughed in order to make them laugh, for he wanted to lighten their spirits. That was Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur's comment. And Jiva Goswami says, he consoled them. He tried to console them as they were constantly weeping and fainting. And seeing that they quickly recovered, he asked about their health in order to hide his own offense of not having come to see them. And after some time had passed in pleasant talks, "How are you?" like this, he started to smile, to reduce their lamentation. And then, Jiva Goswami says, he spoke the following most astonishing words. So here's the first of the 6 verses that he spoke. Lord Krishna said, "My dear girlfriends, do you still remember me?" Remember, he's smiling, and they've been dried up completely. When Uddhava came to Braja on the chariot, Yogamaya first revealed to him what Braja used to look like when Krishna was present and it was blossoming and everyone was happy and the birds were singing. Then the curtain of Yogamaya dropped still further and he saw Braja without Krishna. The trees didn't have leaves. The cows, the bulls were thin. There was no life left because the life of everything, everyone in Braja was Krishna only. And without Krishna, everyone dried up. Mother Yashoda didn't eat. She only cried. She didn't cook. And Nanda Maharaj, this is described in the earlier chapters, 46 and 47. Nanda Maharaj said to her, why? And she was so angry at Nanda Maharaj for coming back without Krishna. She wouldn't talk to him. And he said, why are you so upset? Can't you see that Krishna is right here with us? His ecstasy was seeing Krishna. Hers was not. So Jiva Goswami says, Krishna tried to, he consoled them because they were constantly weeping and then fainting. And seeing that they quickly recovered, he asked about their health in order to hide his own offense of not having come to see them. After some time passed in pleasant talk, he started to smile to reduce their lamentation, and then he spoke these words. My dear girlfriends, do you still remember me? And then seeing that didn't lighten their spirits at all, he apologized, saying, it was for my relatives' sake, the Svanam relatives, that I stayed away for so long. And I did that because I had to destroy my enemies. I was intent, focused on destroying my enemies. So he gave a true excuse. And then, next verse, please. He tried to change his tact again. Because the last one of giving the excuse and trying to lighten their spirits didn't work. Lightening the spirits didn't work, then the excuse didn't work. Do you perhaps think I am ungrateful? And thus you're angry at me and think I'm terrible or bad person? That was his apology, and that didn't work. And then he tried another trick. Of course, after all, Krishna is tricky. After all, certainly, Nunam, it is the Supreme Lord Bhagavan who brings every living being, Bhutani, together and then separates them. Don't blame me, it's all Bhagavan's fault. But just before, Sukadeva was saying Bhagavan was there. And it was him, it was Krishna. So that one's not going to work either. So, Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur, he has a comment on this, please listen. Seeing that the gopis were replying by angrily moving their eyebrows, that suggested the following. You are asking if we remember you? Well, it's clear, Nunam, certainly, that your heart has obviously been broken by remembering us day and night. And to remove that pain of separation from us, you took to all sorts of enjoyment when you were in Mathura and Dwarka. Such a great lover you are. We are not like that. We don't remember you. We are happy without you. They had attained the stage of man. This is their love has increased. We'll talk about this a little bit later. They were angry. Who, what was your name again? We couldn't remember you. We're not thinking about you, but you immediately forgot us. You got married, 16,000 queens. Enjoying yourself? Well, we forgot about you completely. So understanding the mood of the gopis, Krishna spoke. Do you have contempt for me? Fearing that I am ungrateful? Because you had given everything to me. when in this world someone serves another, there's always some ahankara there. There's always some selfishness, inherent selfishness, something gained for me in what I'm doing for you. But in Braj, no matter what the residents of Vrindavana are doing, no matter what the gopis are doing, this is described in the 4th chapter of Adi Lila. Even when the gopis are looking in the mirror and dressing themselves and decorating themselves, it's not to make themselves look beautiful because they want to look beautiful, but rather it's to please Krishna's eyes. And then when Krishna is pleased, he smiles. And when they see Krishna is pleased, their beauty increases still further. And when their beauty increases, his ecstasy goes up. And then, as Prabhupada calls it, transcendental competition between his ecstasy and their beauty and their ecstasy. Do you fear that I'm ungrateful? I didn't consider how much you've given to me, how much you've forsaken your family, your everything, your reputations, your dharma, everything, your house, your children, families, everything for me. You think I'm ungrateful? I haven't come and seen you after this time? Please listen. What can I do about what has happened? It is the Lord, it is Bhagavan who unites us and separates us, all living entities. Jiva Goswami comments, it is not possible for you to remember me by thinking of my good qualities. If that's not possible, you can't find any good qualities in me, since you think I'm devoid of such qualities like gratitude. But nevertheless, you can always remember me by thinking of all my faults. Jiva Goswami continues, seeing that his first attempts had not consoled them, he tried in another way. For certain, Nunam, it is the Lord who brings together and separates all beings. Then Krishna will next offer an example that occurs, that everyone knows, that have no other cause than they just happen, or you can say it's the Supreme Lord. He says, this is 43. Just as the wind gives an example of how ultimately it's Bhagavan who brings everyone together, it's the Supreme Lord and then separates them. Just as the wind brings together masses of clouds, blades of grass, wisps of cotton and particles of dust, only to scatter them all again. So the Creator deals with his created beings in the same way. Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur, well, Jiva Goswami replies actually to this. The gopis respond to that. That means the Lord is pitiless and unjust and hard-hearted. Bhagavan, you. This means the Lord is pitiless and unjust, because clouds and other objects move by the whim of the wind, not with a purpose. So we had our interactions, meant nothing to you. Separation, being with us, it means nothing to you. Does the Lord, Bhagavan, deal similarly? Without a purpose, there is no end, there is no goal, there is no reason. Does he deal like that with all beings? And then, more or less, just in the middle of the 6 verses, this is 3, Krishna will speak the truth that will bring joy to the gopis' hearts. He says, Mai bhakti, by rendering devotional service to me, this qualifies any living being, hi bhutanam, for eternal life. So anyone by amritas kalpate, by rendering devotional service, one gets eternity, eternal bliss, eternal life. One is removed from this temporary, difficult forest fire of material existence by rendering devotional service. But by your good fortune, you have not just rendering devotional service, but by your good fortune, you have developed a special loving attitude towards me. Disya. He's saying it in his clever ways, but the gopis are also clever, more clever in certain ways, and they understand this and it brings them happiness. By your good fortune, he says, you've developed a special loving attitude towards me. Disya, good fortune. Mat sneha, yes, loving attitude. But sneha is a stage of prema. There's 8 different stages before prema, of prema. After bhava bhakti, then there's prema bhakti. The first one is prema, pure love, where one is so deeply attached to Krishna. And then the stage above that is called sneha, which Krishna says, mat sneha, your love for me, your prema for me has reached that stage. And that is a stage that the heart of the devotee is melted to the degree that they cannot even bear any separation from their beloved, even a moment's separation from their beloved. And the next stage after that is man, which the gopis are in basically at this point. And man means their proud anger based on love, not anger of this world, but based on their deep love for Krishna. It's so intense that the lover, there's the beloved Krishna, the lover, the Acharya, the gopis, their affection is so strong, they express their love by apparently, superficially hostile, angry, sulky, against type of words, just to increase the mutual relish, the ecstasies. And then after that comes pranaya, which means that man increases to complete trust, because it's all based on love. And who can you trust? It's those who love you. That's why Krishna only reveals Braja to those who are trustworthy, who love him, that they have demonstrated their love for him. Otherwise, the curtain will remain closed, and then one can think that Krishna is watching to see how people react for not getting exactly what they want. Do they run away? Do they distract themselves? Do they endlessly doom scroll on their internet or whatever? Or do they go out and enjoy? When Krishna is speaking the Uddhava Gita to who? Uddhava, of course. He's talking in the 12th chapter about the importance of association. And he's mentioning different good associations that occur. And then he mentions the residents of Vrindavan. And as soon as he mentions the residents of Vrindavan, his mind goes to the Braja Gopikas. And then he becomes specifically, completely, fully absorbed in them. And he says, even though I left them, they did not for a moment go towards sense gratification. Now, that's a test when you don't. I've been chanting for so long. Where do I go when I don't get the prema that I was hoping to get so easily? And then he talks about a second reason he remembers the Braja Gopikas. There's 4 verses, of which I remember 2 of the reasons right now. And the second reason he describes is that when they're with me, time passes like that. And when they're separated from me, every moment stretches to a yuga, 1,000 years or more, Shri Shava, Padaratam, Panastumam, etc. They're completely sold to me. They have given themselves to me. So, when the gopis hear, and this will come out very soon because this is the 4th verse, when the gopis hear, by your good fortune, you have developed a special loving attitude to me, And because of that sneha, because of that, you have obtained me, Marapanam. When they hear that, they're actually ecstatic because they know that their love is so complete that Krishna will always be with them. Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur comments, most eloquent one, we know that the Lord with whom you find fault, this is more to that Bhagavan, is famous in the world as you. But Krishna replies to that, oh Sakish, if you think that I am the Lord and accusing me of being the Lord, then even so, I'm dependent on your love for me. By devotion to me, Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur says, one can achieve liberation. But you have achieved far more than devotion to me. Matsneha. You have attained affection for me, which is most fortunate for me. Your love for me is a blessing to me, Vishwanath says, for it causes you to attain me. So we will be together because of your love for me. Vishwanath concludes his comment saying, pulling me with force, your affection brings me close to you, and very quickly it establishes me right beside you. Sanatana Goswami comments, time is your angsa, it's your energy, it's your part. And it is dependent on you. And you are that Supreme Lord. Why do you cheat us? For we have surrendered to you. And then Krishna, this is what they're saying, he gives an example, those examples of the dust and etc. He uses an example of philosophy to avoid the accusation of being ungrateful. Now, being merciful, he comforts them. Without any further qualification, even one of the 9 types of bhakti qualifies one to become my eternal associate. But you, gopis, are in a different category. Because you have constant, pure, tender natures, and your affection is greater than the affection of all others. Your affection causes you to attain me. Wherever I am, it strongly attracts me. Thus, there can never be any separation between us at any time. Their love overpowers Krishna. And we can just imagine that the Supreme Controller, the one who knows everything, isn't cheaply obtained on this level. One has to become, one could say serious, or you could say extremely serious, or you could say extremely, extremely, extremely serious, or you could say extremely, extremely, extremely serious and fortunate. And you could say that everything that is not love for Krishna doesn't have any place in such a devotee's heart, and then still one has to pray and cry for it. Jiva Goswami says, if I am the Lord, though absorbed in my pastime of killing my enemies, I would not have the power to separate myself from you, being controlled by your affection for me and my affection for you. Your prema, which exists both when we're separated and together, is most fortunate, for it makes separation between us no longer possible. It is so interesting to think of Krishna in Dwarka. How many wives did he have in Dwarka? Yes. And how many palaces did he have? And how many Krishnas did he manifest to be with each queen at the same time? And he didn't manifest any of his Krishnas to come to Braj and satisfy the gopis by being there at the same time. His Krishna is very clever and very intelligent, but he can't stay away from his beloved gopis. Krishna continues, dear ladies, he is now saying that the Supreme Lord has done everything, brought us together and then separated us. Don't blame me. But if you think I'm the Supreme Lord, listen to this. Dear ladies, I am the beginning and end of all created beings, and I exist both within and without them. Just as the elements ether, water, earth, air, and fire are the beginning and end of all material objects and exist both within and without them. There's the philosophy there. And then Vishwanath says, if you know that I am the Supreme Lord, you're accusing me of doing this because I'm the Supreme Lord, then you should not suffer in separation from me. He's very tricky and refuses to get caught. You have fallen into sorrow because of your lack of discrimination. Therefore, learn from me how to destroy your discrimination. He speaks this verse. And the gopis reply, O great Lord of Yoga, residing in all the three worlds, please put aside this knowledge which you now speak as if it will destroy our sorrow. Krishna thus informs the gopis that actually this knowledge taught by Uddhava in the 47th chapter, and even now taught directly by him, is useless because it does not destroy the sorrow for one who is on the level of prema. Jiva Goswami comments, the gopis may ask, but why is prema the cause of attaining you? And Krishna answers, Jiva Goswami says, by saying, because I am the shelter of everything. And because of this, I alone am suitable for prema. And prema alone is suitable to attain me. This means that because of your prema for me, you very quickly will attain me eternally. And the gopis were confident of their love for him. They knew it was there. And the final verse in the 6th. In this way, all created things reside within the basic elements of creation, while the spirit souls pervade the creation, remaining in their own true identities. You should see both of these, the material creation and the self, as manifested within me, the imperishable supreme truth. And in the short commentary of Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur, you should see both the body and the soul as appearing in me, the eternal Paramatma, the pervader and the supporter of all in existence. Thus all your bodies and souls exist in me at all times. Therefore, where is the suffering and separation from me? It is caused by your lack of discrimination. He's still trying. He's covering what he just said. But he can't cover it from the Braja Gopikas. Now, there's 2 more verses in this chapter. This one, first one, is Sukadev's words, and the last one will be the words of the gopis in reply. Sukadev said, having thus been instructed by Krishna in spiritual matters, the gopis were freed of all tinges of false ego because of their incessant, non-stopping, continuous meditation on him. And with their deepening absorption in him, they came to understand him fully. It sounds as if his philosophical words made them understand that they were always with him and satisfy him, and were satisfied by that. And therefore they could understand who he was, the Supreme Lord, pervading everything and everything within him. And therefore there was no actual separation, but that's not exactly what their response will reveal. But also interesting, in the Krishna book, Prabhupada inserts something very practical at this point. Not only the gopis, but anyone who follows these instructions of Krishna becomes immediately freed from the coverings, the imprisoning coverings that cover the jiva. A person in full Krishna consciousness is always liberated from false egoism because he utilizes everything. Everything that Krishna said was an expansion of him. He uses everything in Krishna's service and is not at any time separated from Krishna. That was Prabhupada's vision. Whatever he sees, he uses in Krishna's service. Whatever he dreams about is in Krishna's service. That is the level that Prabhupada was. His time was spent in Krishna's service. His energy was spent fully in Krishna's service. And so many of Prabhupada's pure followers follow in his footsteps in that way. But Jiva Goswami comments in a different way. Having accepted the instructions under the supervision of Krishna, by constantly thinking of the meaning of what he taught, they understood that they would definitely attain him. That was the Mai Bhaktir Hibhutanam. Because of their sneha, because of their prema, he would definitely be with them. And then finally, Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur's comment before we will read the final verse, which is shows the mood of the gopis in a wonderful way. He who taught us about Dharma in the beginning of the rasa dance, even though we are not intellectuals, and through Uddhava again taught intellectual knowledge, he is now again teaching us knowledge. We should know that this is his nature, and it's hard for him to give up. This is what they understood about him. Because it said, thus you will, finally, by meditating on his words, they understood him. But then they speak, and there's a little bit more, but this is certainly worth it to hear what they say and to hear Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur's comment on this. The gopis thus replied to Krishna's words, "Dear Lord, whose navel is just like a lotus flower, your lotus," they're appreciating his beauty, "your lotus feet are the only shelter for those who have fallen into the deep well of material existence like us." They're very sarcastic. "Your feet are worshipped and meditated upon by great mystic yogis." We're not mystic yogis, though. We can't meditate on your lotus feet so easily as they do. "And also meditated upon by highly learned philosophers." We're not highly learned philosophers. We're just village cowherd girls. "So therefore, we wish that those lotus feet may also be awakened within our hearts. Although we are ordinary persons engaged in household affairs, we are not like these yogis and philosophers. We are just ordinary people, householders. We want something a little special." Completely sarcastic. Here is the comment of Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur. For this, everyone, please keep your eyes and ears and hearts open. Approaching him, the gopis spoke with sarcasm out of anger. "O teacher of philosophical knowledge, O Supreme Lord, O Paramatma himself, because you understand that we have great attachment to our house, our wealth, our family, previously through Uddhava, and now personally, you are purifying our hearts with instructions on knowledge because you want our ignorance to be destroyed. We understand that this is your pure affection, and your instructions are meant to liberate us. But how can we, unintelligent cowherd women, fix the knowledge that you have just spoken to us out of your great compassion, how can we fix it in our hearts? It does not even lead to our thinking of your lotus feet, which is a goal sought after by Brahma and others. Therefore, we request you to do something that will make our meditation on your lotus feet possible. Your feet are the object of meditation for masters of yoga. So how it is possible for us who are afflicted by our karma, the results of our karma, to think of those feet, those with great, deep, profound intelligence, concentrate on your feet by jnana. But how can we, with our little intelligence, think of those feet? Those feet are meant for the deliverance, for those fallen in the well of the material world. And please make some effort to remove our suffering in this world. How is it possible for your lotus feet to arise in the mind of us who are so attached to family life? Complete sarcasm. This statement, Vishwanath says, reveals their hidden anger at Krishna. Because while Krishna was speaking, the acharyas were commenting, but they were just... Or the meaning of their words can be as follows, Vishwanath says. O sun who destroys ignorance, by the heat of your philosophical knowledge, we are burning up. For as Takora birds, we live by the moonlight emanating from your moon-like face. Therefore, come back to Vrindavan and bring us to life by your pastimes, such as the Rasa Leela dance. Then they spoke further. The masters of yoga think of you in their hearts, but we hold those feet over our hearts. And by holding them, we are able to maintain our lives. We take those feet that the yogis meditate and we place them on our hearts. We cannot maintain our lives in any other way. Those with deep intelligence meditate on your feet, but we have shallow intelligence. Just as we begin to meditate on your feet, we drown in the ocean of swooning. We faint. So what is the question of meditating? If one can meditate on your feet, those feet deliver that person fallen in the well of material life. But that is not able to deliver us who have fallen into the ocean of separation from you. We, being cowherd girls, have not fallen in the well of material life. Having renounced the happiness of material life, renounced the happiness of house, renounced our husbands from an early age, but we have fallen deep within the ocean of separation from you. To this, Krishna replies, then please come to Dwarka, and there I will perform amorous pastimes with you there. But the gopis reply to this by saying, for those whose minds are attached to Vrindavan, where we have our houses and cannot give up that place because we have a taste for the sweetness of the beauty of your peacock feather, your flute, and your other features, your lotus feet should appear there in Braja. And by seeing you in Braja, only then will our pain be relieved. It will not be relieved by remembering you, what to speak of repeating these scorching teachers of Atma Gyan and philosophy. And that is the mood of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu during the Rath Yatra ceremony, bringing Lord Jagannath back to Braja. And that we will read in a few days from now. But they continue. Well, this is Diva Goswami. Our meeting should be in the place where you previously had pastimes with us, in Gokul. That is our natural homes, where our desires can only there be fulfilled, not in Dwarka. As Krishna himself said to Uddhav in Bhagavatam 10:46-6, simply because I have promised to return to them, my fully devoted cowherd girlfriends struggle to maintain their lives somehow or other. The gopis conclude by saying, since we have become lifeless because of you, only if you come to Vrindavan will we be freed of suffering. Hare Krishna. Satyananda Maharaj yesterday said I shouldn't end abruptly, although I love to end abruptly, leaving a silence where everyone just thinks of what they have just heard about the incredible love for the gopis. But Maharaj had a wonderful point as well. So I will ask you to just think for 2 minutes, and even though we are a little bit over in time, think for a few minutes. If you like, you can offer your deep prayers, and then we will ask for questions. And I will try to answer them. Hare Krishna. So think for a few minutes about what you have just heard. When we hear, as we do in Maharaj's class, about the devotees, the great lovers of Krishna, the Brijvasis, we should know that they are based on this. They are based on prema bhakti, different levels of prema bhakti. Thank you. Are there any questions or comments? Yes.
In the verse 47,
What number?
in the verse 47, Srila Prabhupada says how by hearing the words of Krishna and meditating, they got rid of the sort of remnants of false ego.
No, not false ego. Was it false ego they got rid of? No.
It says they were free from all hinges of false ego.
Yeah.
So usually we think of this as eternally liberated.
Usually we think of them as that way.
Eternally
And they're-
liberated.
What's the Sanskrit there? Adhyatma shikshaya gopitad anusmaram drasva jivakosha. They certainly had no jivakosha, they had no coverings over themselves. And the eternal associates weren't jivas. They were eternal associates. So this is written on, perhaps on one level, but our acharyas have given the most deep meaning of this all, because when the gopis give their reply, it's clear that they have no coverings over them, unless you take it literally, which Uddhava doesn't take it literally in the verse, Esha Goshtam Navasinam Uttavavam, because he says that they have no attachment to, they have given everything to Krishna. Dham, Artha, Sutaya, everything. So they have no false egos. So the acharyas say things in Parokshavad, Bhagavatam speaks Parokshavad, because things that are deepest are hidden And Krishna likes when things are spoken indirectly. He tells Uddhava. That's parokshavad. So he has said something, but the Acharyas reveal the deepest meaning in that. Even in the Bhagavad Gita, the middle chapters, hidden in the Bhagavad Gita's 18 chapters, the middle chapters describe what is most dear, devotional service. In the Chaitanya Charitamrita, how many parts of it are there? 3. So the middle is the Madhya Lila. And how many chapters are there in Madhya Lila? Should I tell you? There are 25. And what is in the middle of 25? Without asking Google or ChatGPT. What number? 13. And what is 13? It's the Rath-yatra. And in the Rath-yatra, this internal mood that no one can understand, the great gift of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. The great gift is revealed. And that's why we say Sri Chaitanya Manobhishtam, that Rupa Goswami revealed it. And then Kaviraj Goswami, Krishnadas Kaviraj Goswami, he put it in Chaitanya Charitamrita, otherwise we wouldn't know the great gift of Rupa. Most of us wouldn't know that. And that's Mahaprabhu bringing Lord Jagannath, Krishna, back to Vrindavan. And that mood of separation, and his love was so strong. If I asked Madhavananda to speak on this, it will go on and on and on. Any other? One last question, perhaps, if there is any. Yes, Prabhu. What did the world do before there was microphones? I don't know.
Please accept my humble obeisances in the dust of your lotus feet.
I don't have lotus feet, but that's why I was just reading, mostly not speaking.
So, Prabhuji, actually in Srimad Bhagavatam, in series of two verses, in one verse in the purport, it is mentioned, speaking of Prahlad Maharaj, that if you have unflinching faith in Guru and Krishna, yesterday read the verse, and Prabhupada says that the quickest method to actually attain loving service will be revealed in the heart. So when we hear these kind of very high, very deep exchanges between Krishna and Krishna's associates, then what is the way we can actually awaken the greed to come to this stage where either we can relish these kind of pastimes, to come to that level of qualification? So
You're asking how to attain prema bhakti, basically.
not
It sounded like that.
to be able to relish these kind of topics in
What of Prabhupada's books have you read?
reading Srimad Bhagavatam, 8th canto.
And you haven't read 9, 10, 11, 12? Okay.
No, not systematic, here and there, but not systematic.
Yeah. And you've read 1 to 8 systematically?
Yes.
And you should keep doing that. And chant, try to learn and mold your consciousness, your thoughts, your life into what is being taught there. And the Bhagavatam will increase your faith and your understanding, because when your intelligence complains that this doesn't make sense, that how could God be a boar, Varaha, and be bored out of someone's nose? When your intelligence rebels like that, you'll have to be able to answer your intelligence. So it's step by step, we increase our faith, our devotion, and then when we hear the 10th canto, we can jump in, and then the 11th canto, 12th canto, and then we read Chaitanya Charitamrita, and then you'll be there. You won't be able to swim anymore. You'll drown. But it's step by step. I mean, that's the purpose of what we're doing. We come to Braja and the association of so many wonderful devotees. We go to Govardhana. We pray to our deities where we are. We try to chant, we read, we try to get some extra mercy by preaching, even though we're not so qualified, because no one is more dear to me, Krishna says, the one who spreads the message of the Bhagavad Gita. And it takes time. That's our hope. And without hope, we can't go on. So Prabhupada said in his Vyasa Puja offering to Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur, his glorious spiritual master, that it will take me crores of births to attain the association of Krishna, direct association. And here I am. I've been chanting for some years, maybe 9 years, or 7, is it? No, you've been in there for 7 years, yes?
In temple for 10 years.
10 years. Yeah, so probably for you it will take 11 years, but for me it will take a lot longer. We have to be patient, and we have to be enthusiastic and eager and proceed with conviction. What are the others? Excuse me? Yeah, so we follow the process, and we have to be completely enthusiastic and completely patient at the same time. Now try to do that. So it is a process, and of course association is so important. Association, Prahlad says, you quoted Prahlad Maharaj, it acts on the heart like a crystal. If we have good association, that will reflect in our heart, and if we have not so good association, and what do you do if you're a preacher like you're a preacher? So you have to really be strong and keep Krishna always in the Maha Mantra and the form of the deities in your mind. And every time you lose that, you have to be humbled and see how much you need it. Because Dainya and Prema are the same, as Srila Sanatana Goswami explains in Brihad Bhagavatamrita. And then with Lolyam, Tatra Lolyam Apimulam. But that was your question, how do you get that? So we're in the process. The first step is to understand that my heart is like the desert. Understand I don't have it. I'm not perfect. Okay, I think we should end now. I would like to ask for others to add on to that. And that's a good thing to discuss with the devotees this afternoon. How do I become a real devotee? When Mahaprabhu says, Na prema gandha, I don't even have the fragrance of bhakti, what to speak of the substance. Then what can I expect from me? Is to serve those more advanced than me. And that's actually in Chaitanya Bhagavat described as the method. Always chant, preach, so many points. But serve. Even the gopis, they don't try to jump in between Radha and Krishna and say, here I am. No, they're always trying to bring Radha and Krishna together, because that will give Krishna pleasure. So if you're really humble, you'll see everyone else more qualified than you to be with Krishna, and you'll serve them and help them. Depending upon who they are, you'll serve them in one way or another. Hare Krishna. Please honor Bhagavat Prasadam now, or soon anyway. Hare Krishna. Srila Prabhupada ki jai. Sri Krishna Bhagavan ki jai. Sri Braja Gopikas ki jai. Sukadev Goswami ki jai. Uddhava ki jai. Balaram ki jai. Hare Krishna.